Adobe built the creative standard that professionals depended on across design, video, and digital content production. Entire industries structured their workflows around its tools, file formats, and ecosystem. That system created control, consistency, and long-term subscription revenue. Then AI began generating images, video, and design outputs instantly with minimal effort. Projects that once required hours of manual work started being completed in seconds through prompts. Clients began accepting AI-generated content as usable output without traditional production steps. Freelancers and teams started testing alternatives that reduced cost and complexity. The value of manual creative workflows began to compress under speed and automation pressure. The system still dominates, but the foundation is now under structural pressure. As digital content demand expanded, Adobe positioned its tools as the default environment for professional creation across industries. Applications like Photoshop, Illustrator, and Premiere became essential in daily production workflows. File formats such as PSD and AI turned into industry standards, reinforcing compatibility across teams. The shift to Creative Cloud in 2012 converted one-time purchases into continuous subscription relationships. This transition created stable recurring revenue while increasing long-term user dependence. Teams built pipelines that relied heavily on Adobe's ecosystem for editing, storage, and collaboration. Extensive training, certifications, and plugins further anchored users inside the platform. Switching away required rebuilding entire workflows, increasing operational friction for alternatives. The system was deeply embedded, widely trusted, and difficult to replace at scale. As adoption widened across industries, Adobe expanded its suite to cover nearly every stage of digital content production. Design, video, animation, and publishing tools were bundled to encourage multi-product usage within the same subscription. Customer retention improved as creators relied on multiple applications working together inside one environment. Tiered plans captured individuals, teams, and large enterprises with different pricing levels and feature access. Additional services, such as Adobe Stock and fonts, increased ecosystem depth and reduced reliance on external assets. Content demand accelerated with social media, marketing, and digital transformation across businesses. Subscription revenue scaled consistently, supported by a growing global user base. Upselling additional tools became a structured path for increasing revenue per customer. The system expanded outward, but it became more dependent on continuous usage across multiple products. As the platform matured, Adobe refined its monetization approach to capture more value from its existing user base. Full-suite subscriptions encouraged creators to stay within one environment rather than using standalone tools. Pricing adjustments were introduced gradually, increasing revenue without immediate resistance from long-term users. Feature updates were delivered continuously, reinforcing the perception of ongoing improvement and relevance. Retention remained high as professionals depended on consistent compatibility and performance across projects. Operational planning became more predictable due to recurring subscription income. Margins expanded as the cost of delivering software scaled efficiently across a global customer base. Sales strategy focused on maintaining long-term contracts rather than one-time transactions. The system appeared efficient, but it relied heavily on sustained perceived value to justify its pricing structure. As usage deepened across different segments, the subscription model began creating friction for users with lighter or intermittent needs. Independent creators and small teams started questioning whether the full suite pricing matched their actual usage patterns. Some tasks required only a fraction of the available tools, yet the cost remained tied to the entire package. The learning curve for advanced features limited accessibility for newer users entering the ecosystem. At the same time, simpler alternatives began improving, offering faster results with fewer steps and lower cost. Certain workflows became unnecessarily layered, requiring multiple tools to complete relatively basic outputs. Users started experimenting outside the ecosystem, especially for quick-turn content and rapid iteration. Perceived value began shifting from tool depth toward speed and ease of execution. The system remained dominant, but underlying dissatisfaction started to build beneath its scale. As generative AI accelerated around 2022 and into 2023, content creation began shifting from manual production to prompt-driven output. Images, designs, and short-form video could be produced in seconds without navigating complex tool chains. What previously required layered editing across multiple applications was now compressed into a single interaction. Non-professionals entered the creative space with tools that removed the need for advanced technical skills. Freelancers began testing AI outputs for client work, reducing dependence on traditional workflows. Clients started accepting faster, lower-cost deliverables that met functional requirements without full production depth. The value of time-intensive editing began to compress as speed became a primary expectation. This directly challenged subscription justification tied to depth, precision, and multi-step processes. The system reached a point where its core workflow advantage was being actively questioned. As this shift accelerated through 2023, Adobe moved quickly to integrate generative capabilities directly into its core applications. Firefly was introduced as an internal model to generate images and assets within the existing ecosystem. Features like generative fill inside Photoshop reduced multi-step editing into single actions driven by text input. The company positioned these capabilities as enhancements rather than replacements to preserve its professional user base. At the same time, concerns emerged around training data, copyright exposure, and content authenticity. Enterprise clients began evaluating legal risks alongside productivity gains when adopting AI-assisted workflows. Pricing adjustments started to reflect AI usage, linking value to generation rather than only access to tools. Competition from AI-native platforms continued to push simplicity and speed as primary advantages. The system was adapting, but it was doing so under visible pressure from a rapidly changing environment. As these adjustments continued into 2024 and 2025, Adobe began stabilizing its model by embedding AI directly into everyday creative workflows. Generative capabilities were positioned as part of the core value, shifting the platform toward output-driven productivity. Professional users continued relying on advanced control for high-quality work that required precision beyond automated generation. At the same time, simpler projects increasingly moved toward faster AI-assisted creation with reduced manual effort. Revenue growth moderated as pricing and usage patterns adjusted to new expectations across the market. Margins remained supported by subscription discipline and controlled cost structures. Legal frameworks around content ownership and training data started to shape how AI features were deployed. Competition from AI-native tools continued to challenge traditional creative pipelines. The system remained dominant, but its long-term model was evolving under sustained structural pressure.